Let's make some unique Dollar Tree solar light DIYs. Welcome to CreArtive by Nature DIYs and Decor. My name is Donna. So for our first solar light project, you're going to need to grab an old lamp that you have on hand or from the thrift store, and we're going to take it apart. So I'm just pulling off that little sleeve. There was a bit of glue on it, so it took me a bit of time to get this off. I picked this lamp up at Value Village for $4.99. I removed the base cover as I need to be able to remove all that wiring. I won't be needing it, so I do end up snipping through the wires, but if you know of a way on how to remove this without cutting the cord, please let me know how down below. So once I've got that cord cut, I admit I struggled with getting this top piece off. It was bolted on quite well. This was a really well-made lamp. I was quite impressed, but it didn't suit my decor, and I knew I wanted to recreate this into something for my sun deck. So I managed to get all those pieces apart, and this little washer or bracket piece came loose, so I will be gluing that back on. But next I'm going to prep my solar light. Dollar Tree has these flame glow little solar lights, and they are so cool. I really like the light that they give off. I need this stake, but I only need a little portion of it, about a couple inches. So I am going to use a hacksaw and my miter box. I've got this listed in my Amazon affiliate store. And I'll be cutting through about, again, a 2-inch piece. So I struggled here a bit. I admit I'm not doing it quite right. I know I'm not. So off camera, I end up cutting through and I move it to the edge of my table. Now, please take care that you don't cut yourself while you're doing this. So take all the proper precautions. Once your piece is cut through, you're going to notice that only one part of this is going to fit the base of our light and over top of our lamp portion. So just keep that in mind. So you can see how that looks, and I'm using this Gorilla sealant. It's a silicone sealant, and this works really, really well. I have used this on other outdoor projects, and I'm amazed at how well it works. In fact, I've got some other solar lights. I'm gonna have the video to that linked at the end of this particular video and linked down in my description box. But I've used this silicone adhesive, and it held up so well on those other solar lights. So here it is, all complete. I am loving how it looks. It turned out amazing. So you're going to need to grab one of these cylinder spotlight solar lights from Dollar Tree. Remove the tag, and we're going to leave the tab on for now, but you can see that it's adjustable. Okay, you know me and nature finds. I foraged this recently. I'll have the video for that coming out this month in June. And I found these tubes of birch bark. I trimmed it down a bit, just removed that rough edge, and you can see it is going to fit really well. It is a bit bigger than our solar light, but I actually wanted that. So I cleaned out the debris that was left inside, and I'm just making sure that it is going to fit properly. Now, I did want to tuck away that hinge, so I'm just figuring out what side of the birch bark I wanted to be facing on the top. And then I am going to cut a notch out of the bottom part. That way here, the hinge will just slip inside and you won't even see it. So I did end up trimming this down just a little bit more. I didn't like how rough that edge was there, and it just cleaned it right up. So I am going to now figure out how big of a piece I need to cut out the top of our birch bark, and that is going to allow for the solar light panel to be exposed so it can recharge. I'm just roughly guesstimating here using a pencil, marking off how wide and how tall I need it. Surprisingly, I was spot on. Don't ask me how I got it, but yeah, I'll show you here in a minute. So I'm just using some scissors to cut it out, and happened to have a hole right there, so I was able to get my scissors into the bark without damaging it. So just continue to trim the pieces out until you get that exposed square. Okay, here you go. Look at, I'm amazed how perfect the fit was. All right, so now that I've got that all figured out, I start to use my Gorilla silicone adhesive as well as some hot glue. I decided to use a little bit of hot glue here because I wanted an instant hold while the silicone set up. So I did use a combination of the two because I have found that hot glue does not hold up outside here where I live. It gets hot and the hot glue just doesn't work. So this silicone adhesive is awesome. I will try to link it down below in my Amazon affiliates link, or I picked mine up at Walmart, so you could always find it there, or at hardware stores as well. So I end up having just to trim off a little bit of the birch bark around my hinge again, but feel free just to trim it up any way you like. As you can see right here, I decided to kind of trim the shape of the birch bark to kind of match the shape of our solar light inside, and I just felt like it gave it a bit more of a cleaner look. So at this point, I decided to remove the tab, and then I still felt it needed just a little bit more trimming, so I rounded off those corners right here around around the hinge, and I just felt like that just finished it right up, and it's ready to put out in your yard. I am amazed at how awesome this looks. I can't wait to use it on my little gnome garden. So you're going to also want to grab one of these candle holders. It's got a concrete base with the wire. They've still got them. I saw them in my store the other day. Then you're going to need some twigs. So this is some twig fencing that I picked up from a store called Dollarama here in Canada. If I can find it, I will link it on my Amazon affiliate store as well if you can't find it. But check out garden centers or hardware stores. Maybe even your local dollar stores have these. So I am cutting it down to size. I want it to wrap right around this little wire cage, and I pulled some of the pieces off as needed and then twist the wires and folded them in so I don't cut myself with those little wires. So I am pushing some of the wire together so that they're not so far apart, as I am going to be needing to trim this fencing down. It is too tall for the project, so I'm just going to continue to work on the wire until I get it as close as I possibly can. So I'm just going to measure here again. I just wanted to make sure that I get one of the rings on the wire cage in contact with the wiring on the fencing. And the reason why is because I just wanted a nice base to apply my silicone sealant again. So I'm just going to run a bead along that wire mesh, or the wiring that you can see right there on the fence. I end up kind of glopping it a bit by mistake, but I do end up cleaning it up a bit. So continue to apply it until you get the desired thickness you need. So I do get some jute twine out, and I cut a long piece because I will be using that to bind this together. So place the bottom edge of your wire cage into the silicone and then start to roll so that the wire cage is wrapped with our twig fencing, just like this. So I did have a little bit of an overhang. I always like to do that just in case I, mismeasure. But I do end up having to trim that off. So you'll see me doing that right here. And then again, I just make sure I twist the wire together and then just tuck it in again so I don't scrape myself. Okay, so now I am going to use that jute twine and I'm going to wrap it around where we've got that silicone line, and I'm going to just tie it off with a knot. And then I'm going to be taking another piece of jute twine and we are going to do the same thing for the top. I didn't bother running a bead of silicone on the top of our fencing. I felt just as long as I had some on the bottom and then tied both the top and bottom with the jute twine, I knew that this would hold together really well. I'm going to set this aside and allow the sealant to set, and then we're going to work on our solar light. I needed to remove that bottom little nub there on the solar light. We're just using one of these glow flame solar lights from Dollar Tree again. So got that trimmed off, and then we're going to attach it to our concrete base. Again, I'm going to be using my silicone adhesive, but I'm also using the hot glue on this as well. And I'm just adding a bead of each, and then I'm going to put this into place in the middle of the concrete candle holder. Again, I'm going to allow that to set up, and I had already pulled the tab on this piece. And now I'm going to work on trimming these branches. So I started off using wire snips, but this was taking me way too long. So I dug out my pruning shears and I really got the job done faster. So you're going to want to trim it about 1 centimeter away from your wiring, or depending on what you're using. You could use some foraged branches, but I already had this on hand and I wanted to use it up, so I just went ahead and used this fencing. If you were to use some foraged branches, I think I would probably maybe glue the branches on, say, a piece of ribbon or string or something. I'm not exactly sure. You could just play around and see what would work for you. So once you've got all those pieces trimmed off, you're just going to make sure that the bottom is all balanced out. And you can see I did that just by pushing it down. Then I decided to add some more jute twine. I'm just making sure my knots or my tie-ins are matched up with the knot I already had there. Now the reason why I did this is because I'm going to be using this jute twine not only to hold the piece together, but also to hide all that wire. I didn't like the way it looked, so this cleaned it right up. So now I am also going to trim the top, but before I do that, I needed to place these twigs on our holder, but I cleaned up all the little clumps of some excess sealant that I had on there. So I just used my rag and my fingers. So all cleaned up, and now I can put that into place over our solar light base, just like you see here. So just want to make sure the branches stay all even before you push it down over your base, and it fits really, really well. I was actually quite amazed how well this fit together. So I just push that down, and then I am going to be able to trim off the top. Now, I didn't do it right away because I wasn't exactly sure how tall I wanted my piece to be. So I thought, well, let's put it on first before I start to do the trimming. If you have any missing branches, feel free to fill in those spots with some twigs that you have in your stash or from the rest of your fencing. Just tuck them in and then trim them down as needed. And you could even use a little bit of hot glue if you need to help hold them into place. So now I am going to start to trim the top portion. And again, I was about a centimeter away from the wire. You can just see I'm just using my pruning shears and I will cut away the excess. So again, you're gonna need another long piece of jute twine and just wrap it around the top. Again, that will hide that wire that we have on the top portion of our fencing. So once you get the wiring all covered up, then you are ready to put this on display. Now you'll just need to make sure that all your solar lights are charged up, and it will last, I believe, for approximately 8 hours. I love this. This is going to look awesome on the table in the summertime. I am so happy with how all these solar light projects turned out. They are definitely unique, and I am excited to be able to use these in the summertime. Let me know what you think by leaving me a comment down below. And if you're looking for some more solar light DIYs, watch the video at the very end. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.